You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel 5784, 2024. This week's Parsha is Parsha Savo, and famously, as we get closer to Rosh Hashanah, so the Torah tells us, our sages tell us, we read the brachas, we read the blessings that Hashem gives us when we do what's right, when we keep the Torah, and we read the klales, the curses, heaven forbid, when Am Yisrael does not keep the Torah. And our sages tell us, because we want to express the fact that we've learned our lesson in a certain sense. We want the year to end. The curses, we want them to be behind us. And we want to come into a new year. We want to have a year of blessings. We want to recognize that this year was a challenging year, is and has been a challenging year for Am Yisrael, and we know that challenges are still ahead of us. But still, we recognize that the root of the challenges come, the difficulties come, or I would say the challenges are exacerbated, are made worse, when we don't recognize what is the cause of those challenges. Means we recognize and we read about the curses that happen when we don't keep the Torah. So we understand that it depends on that. Our relationship with Hashem, all that happens to us in our lives is really just a reflection of what's going on between us and God. And that's the recognition. And with that recognition, our sages are telling us, with that recognition, so we say that the curses should end. The negative situations we have been in, all these things, we've learned our lesson, Hashem. Let the blessings come. Let's experience blessings. So in this context, the pasuk says, at the beginning of chapter 28, verse 1, verse tells us, if you will listen, Shemaya Tishma, it uses a double language, if you will listen, you will listen to the voice of Hashem, your God, so Hashem will send you all these different blessings. Your lives will be filled with blessings. And the Torah goes on to describe all the different blessings that we will experience. It's said in a compact way, but the blessings are from Aleph to Taf. They're all the letters in the alphabet. The curses, though they're described at length, they're minimalized, they are minimized. Hashem, Meruba Mida Tova, God's attribute of kindness and goodness is always greater. Hashem is our Father, He loves us. But the language that the midrash points out is interesting. It says, Tishma. Why does it say, if you will hear, you will hear? It's double language. So, colloquially, in Hebrew, in the times of the Torah, so Shemaya Tishma means certainly, if you will certainly hear. Means you must hear this. But our sages teach us that there's more to it than that. That when the Torah says to hear, first of all, there's a classic example of this idea. It's more in Sukkot, it's also here in the midrash. If you learn the Torah and you go over the Torah, you try to understand the Torah and you try not to forget the Torah, it's something that you're always talking about. It's always on your lips. It's always part of your conversations. The things that we talk about a lot, those are the things that go into our consciousness. If you remember the Torah, you will continue to hear. You get a greater depth of spiritual understanding the more you learn. And midrash says, for example, that you're raised in this world, you're raised in the next world. There's a double hearing. I'd like to share with you the second section in Parsha Zayin, the beginning of our Parsha, on this pasuk. Zeshamar Akasov, Asher Adam Shemeli. I also want to say that I'm learning Baruch Hashem. It's Elul time, so pulled out a few Musas Svarim. One of the Svarim that I'm learning is the Teres Abayis, which is a sefer from the Chavetz Chaim. Beautiful book encouraging us the power of learning. Every single word is precious. Every single word is a mitzvah in and of itself. How many words you say in a minute, in an hour of learning Torah, it's incredible. Each word is a mitzvah, how beautiful the Torah is. So I was learning a piece in here. He talks about a certain topic, and then I tripped over in another midrash that I was learning, not this midrash on the Parsha, the midrash of Koheles, which hopefully I'll share a little bit of it. I tripped over the same exact idea in the Marzu. And then I realized, not only that, but it's exactly the piece in this midrash as well that we're about to read. And then I mentioned this to my Rav, Rabbi Yaakov Haber, and I said, is that a message from Hashem when the same idea keeps coming up? And he said, of course. And then he started giving me another idea related to it, which I will share with you. But, it's called Hashgacha Pratis. You see Hashem's hands, first of all, when you're looking for it. But second of all, when you're trying to do what's right, when you're trying to learn, when you're trying to shtai, you're trying to grow. So it's Elul time. I'm trying to show my desire for a relationship with Hashem, and it's sweet to feel that kiss back. Anyway, this is what the midrash says. It's talking about Shmi, it's talking about hearing. And it will be, if you will hear, all the blessings will come. If you will hear, you will hear. So what is the idea? There's a pasuk in Mishlei, in chapter 8, verse 34. It says, praiseworthy is the one who listens to me. Shemei Ali. So, Ma'u Ashrei Adam Shemei Ali, as the Marzu explains, the pasuk already said the idea. Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, already told us that we should listen to God, and praiseworthy is the one who hears the word of Hashem. So why is it repeated here? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Asher la'adam b'shasha shmu oisav li. So I understand this in two ways. One is how the Meforshim explain it, and one is just a Parsha Pshat, as far as I understand it. What are the things that we're listening to? What are the things that we're hearing about? Or Hashem, I try to put on for myself when I'm preparing my lunch or whatever, breakfast, to listen to my Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Per, Zechron Livracha, to hear shiurim from him, especially the most recent ones that he spoke during this war, and it's very apropos to what's going on right now. What is it that we turn to? What are we listening to? What do we want to hear? What's the kind of music we listen to? What's the messages of the music? Is it about Avodas Hashem? Is it about serving God? Is it about strengthening our faith in Hashem? That's to me the Parsha Pshat. Pasuk is saying, Asher Adam Shemei Ali. Praiseworthy is the one who, when he's listening, whatever he's listening to, what's exciting to him that he wants to hear? Li. He wants to hear me, Hashem says. He wants to hear what I have to say. He wants to hear what the Torah has to say. That's my humble Pshat. The midrash is explained slightly differently by the Meforshim here, and they say Asher Adam Shemei Ali means that when a person is the sheshmuais of li, a shmua, which literally means something that you have heard, is another word for a sugya. In the Gemara, the concepts and the sections, the concepts and the I don't have the right word in English for it, but each piece of Gemara, let's say, or each idea that's being conveyed in a midrash, the sugya, the topic, there's the word. The topics that we learn when we're learning the Torah, Shmuos of Li, there's two kavanas that we could have. And of course we're human and we have both kavanas. But the part that needs strengthening is a particular intent. When we're learning, we can be learning because it's interesting to us, because maybe we feel it's right even to be learning Torah. It's because we feel better, we feel good when we learn Torah. But the highest aspect, says the midrash, as explained by the Meforshim, is Sheshmois of Li. Why am I learning? I'm learning for Hashem's sake. I'm learning the Shem Shamayim, lishma. Lishma. Interesting thing. I want to tell you, lishma means for God's sake or for its own sake. And this is an incredibly important idea. As my Rosh Hashiva said, Rabbi Per Zechron Livracha, he would talk about the fact that in the Vardik, there were certain topics that were the hot topics, the most important things that they stressed. One of them was bitachon, which we talk about a lot, Baruch Hashem. Another one was lishma. Now think about this idea, because I don't know if you're going to hear this anywhere else, as my Rosh Hashiva used to say. I don't know if we're going to hear this from anywhere else, the idea of lishma, of doing things for the sake of God, not for my own, all of the biases and all of the different motivations, And of course, again, I'm human. I'm going to have multiple motivations. But I got to make sure that amongst my motivation, and I have to strive that should become the main motivation, is lishma. Doing it for God's sake. What does it mean to hear, to hear? It means to hear deeply, to really hear. To really hear. To not hear superficially. To not do it for all of the regular human reasons why we do stuff. But to include, at first it's going to be small, and that's fine. But to include within the ideas of reasons why we're doing it, to do it lishma, for God's sake. You know, my son mentioned to me a few months ago that something, a kavanah to have during tefillah in our davening. You know, we want Mashiach to come, we want to see Beis HaMikdash, we want Am Yisrael to succeed in the battles that we're battling, we want to feel safe in Eretz Yisrael, we want to feel safe in the diaspora, we want our enemies to fall, we want the good guys to win. But that motivation, it's about us, naturally. It's naturally about us. And my son said to me, Moshe Dov, he said to me that there's an idea that he read. Maybe it was from Rav Shimshon Pincus, I don't remember where he got it from. That the davening, we can daven for Hashem. For your sake, Hashem. Right? For your sake, God, so that your honor be revealed. It's like a child who prays on behalf of a parent. It's not an easy thing to do. It's a child who prays for the success of the parent. Because really that's the child's success as well. We need to daven on behalf of Hashem, lishma, for God's sake. L'mahan shemoi bi'avo. When Hashem is going to bring Mashiach, is going to be the revelation of Hashem in the world is going to be incredible. So there's a lishma, for God's sake, for God's sake. We'll see more about that soon, but I want to share with you this midrash, and it's because it's really quite beautiful how it relates to the idea of lishma when we understand it. The pasuk says in Mishlei, the same verse that says, "Praiseworthy is the one who listens to me for my sake." The person who's learning for God's sake, ma'u lishkod al dal sasai. So the pasuk says that this same person, he's consistently by God's doors. Now, why does the pasuk say doors, plural? Maybe it's in God's door. You come through the door of the Beis Midrash, come into the synagogue, into the study hall. Omar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Malachta l'spal b'soich Beis HaKnesses. Midrash says something interesting. It says if you're coming to pray in the synagogue, in the shul, al tamen el pesach hachitza l'spal sham. Don't stand in the outer area, in the hallway, and daven there in the outer area of the shul. Go inside of one door, go inside another door. Right? Shuls, a synagogue, is supposed to have two doors. One door into an ante-room, an ante-area, entranceway, and then the main sanctuary. Make sure you go all the way in, says the midrash. You're consistently coming through the doors. Make your way all the way inside. It doesn't say to consistently be inside of my door. It says al dal sasai is coming to two doors. What's the idea? Why do you need to come into two doors? So the midrash says, because Hashem counts your steps. When you walk all the way into shul, you walk to the front of the shul. Get closer to the sanctuary. Get closer to the Aron Kodesh. Get closer to God, as it were, physically. Hashem rewards you for the extra steps that you take towards Him. And I want to say that if a person, I would say, there's a mashal here, there's an analogy here that's going on that's related to the lishma. Because what does lishma mean? What does it mean to learn for God's sake? And that's something only you know about. Really. Something that only you know if you've done it. It's something deep inside of ourselves. It's all the way in. And the same way that lishma is all the way in, walking all the way into the shul, instead of standing, around the periphery, on the outer edges of the shul, of the synagogue. When I go all the way in, I'm showing I'm all the way in. It's symbolic. Hashem gives me reward for my extra steps because it's really saying, I've aligned myself more. I show I want to be close. I want to be close. Right? The student who sits in front of the teacher, that's the one who clearly wants to learn. But it's related to the lishma aspect. It's something that really only I know about. It's something that's inside of me. And it's a subtle thing. Because it's easy to sit in the back. I don't really want to be noticed. I don't need to be in the center of things. But there's a different thing about lishma, which is, I'm doing it for God's sake. I'm going all the way in. I'm not going to do this in a superficial way. I'm going to do it all the way. The last part of the pasuk says that we are, first of all, to go inside of the doors, but second of all, we're supposed to protect and watch over the mezuzahs of the entrances. What does it mean? There's no chiyuv to have a mezuzah on a shul, on a synagogue. It's referring not to the mezuzahs that we think of mezuzahs, which has the scroll inside of it, which has Shema on it, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad written on it, but rather it's talking about the actual doorway. The mezuzahs are the doorway that it's composed of. It's composed of these it's called a lintel in English, a lintel. So what is it talking about? So elamam is Pesach, just like it is that the doorway itself doesn't move. It's nailed in to the opening of the door. The frame, more precisely, the frame of the doors is nailed to the door area. Don't move. Don't move from the shul, the place of learning. Sit and learn. Sit and stay there. Don't leave there. Don't leave the place of spirituality. Now, what's the reward? You're going all the way in, and you're staying there. You're being lishma. You're learning for God's sake. You're doing it not just in a superficial way. You're doing it all the way, adasof. What is the reward? Hashem says, you should know that you're going to receive, you're going to have a spiritual experience. You're going to see God's divine presence. Because what's the end of this pasuk? In Mishlei ki motzi motza chaim. One who finds me has found life. Right? When you do things for God's sake, when you go all the way into the shul, and when you make it your business to stay there as long as you can, maybe after davening you stay and you learn for a bit, or maybe more than a bit, come to your shir, stay there a bit after the shir, sit and learn in the beis midrash, morning seder, whatever the person's level is. But the more a person gives to Torah, the more a person is consistently inside of the place of prayer and of learning, the more Hashem reveals himself to that person. You find Hashem there. That's what you're finding. Lishma, doing it for God's sake. You find Hashem there. How can you come to the shul and not find God there? If you're running in, running out, just to do the duty, running in, running out, that's not where you're going to find God. But how is it possible that you stand there? Oimei bebeis haknesses means to stand and to stay there. The Shabbat, when you stand there, when you stay there in the shul, so Hashem stands over you. How do we know this? Because it says Hashem stands over those when there's a minyan, when there's a group of people who are coming together to pray and to connect to Hashem. So Hashem is there. Hashem is with them. Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu v'lo yidaycha she'ad mekabel pnei hashchina bebeis hakneses. Excuse me. Not only do you receive God's presence, do you get a chance to experience godliness inside of the shul, but you take it with you. You get blessings that go with you when you leave the shul, when you leave the beis midrash. Pasuk says, those who find me have found life, as we said before, by Yafik Ratzin Hashem. And they take out the will. They have, it's literally they take out the will, but it means they have received God's grace. They receive Hashem's blessings as a result of this. It means, that's what it means in the pasuk when it says, if you will hear, you will hear. It's not just about doing it on a superficial level. I hear. Like they say, yeshivish, I hear you. To really hear, in Yiddish there's a word, der Herr, to deeply understand, to hear it really. If I understand what mitzvahs are about, it's not just about me, it's not just about me feeling good and happy because I'm a spiritual person, I'm doing what's right. It's deeper than that. I'm doing it because this is Hashem's will. I'm doing it for God's sake. And I'm not going to read it inside, but I'd like to just share with you the Chavetz Chaim says in the Sefer Torah Sabayis, it's at the end of Parak Ches, the end of the 8th chapter. He speaks about the fact that he gives a mashal to a guy who he was an old man and he brought his family with him. He was about to get on a boat to go to Israel, to go to Eretz Yisrael. And as he's about to get on the boat, the captain of the boat says, I'm sorry, but some of your children you need to leave behind because they're not healthy enough to come on the boat. They could die in transit. And the man is distressed and distraught, and the children are crying, and they have to leave their father, and he's an old man, he knows he'll never see these children again. Chavetz Chaim says that this is a mashal, very interesting. It's a little bit tough to hear, but this is Elul, so we can hear a little bit tough. We gotta think of what we want to strive for and the importance of it. But he says, it's a Gemara in Pesachim, Daf Mem Ches. Plus the Gemara says, one pasuk says, Ad Shomayim Chasdecha. Your kindness is until the heavens. Another pasuk says, Me'al Shomayim Chasdecha. Your kindness, Hashem, is above the heavens. This is also the Marzu brings this down. I'll get to the Marzu in a moment. In Koheles. The Gemara says, what does it mean that some kindness of Hashem, of God, is only until the heavens and some of it is above? So the midrash, the Gemara says that when a person does mitzvahs lishma, I do it for God's sake and I try to minimize my own biased motivations. And again, we're human, but here's an idea that's something we should strive for, that we must strive for. When I do things for God's sake, for Hashem's sake, nobody knows about it. Nobody knows that I've done this good thing. I do a favor for somebody, he doesn't even know about it. And do something good. It's for Hashem. Or I make my motivation more about Hashem. I think about that, I'm aware of it. When I do things lishma, that's me'al shamayim chazdecha. There's a separation that happens, and that's the mashal of the guy who couldn't bring his kids on the boat to Eretz Yisrael. There are some mitzvahs that I do with extraneous motivations. Those mitzvahs are very nice, they're beautiful, they have value, but they don't, the angel that I made when I did that mitzvah does not accompany me. It accompanies part of the way, but it can't get on the boat to get up all the way to Shemaim. Ad Shemaim Chazdecha. That aspect, that kind of mitzvah doesn't accompany me there all the way. The tough mitzvah, the one that required a deeper sense of commitment, a deeper recognition that it's for Hashem, doing this for you, God. That mitzvah accompanies me all the way up to the highest places. Because it doesn't have any earthy aspects. It's much deeper. It's much more powerful. So, and that's what we're saying here. You want to get a relationship with Hashem, you want it to be deep, you want it to be real, it needs to be Ashrei Adam Sheme'ali. Praiseworthy is the one who hears for my sake, who's learning, who's Torah, who's mitzvahs, whose actions are done for God's sake. This is a very lofty ideal, especially we live in a Western society where everything is about me. What do I gain from it? Even the way that we encourage our children is we say, hey, here, have a candy. Oh, isn't that fun? Isn't Shabbos so fun? Everything is about fun. Isn't it so nice? Even the way that we talk about turning off our devices for Shabbos. Oh, it's so nice. It's so much more relaxing. I feel so much better not being attached to my whatever. But that's not what Shabbos is about. Shabbos is about a relationship with Hashem. We do it because God said to. That's much deeper. Just because God said to? Yeah, because God said to. We keep Shabbos and we do mitzvahs and we learn Torah because it's something that gives nachas to Hashem. It's something that Hashem enjoys seeing His children following His will. Yeah, it's good for us. Yeah, it's enjoyable. Shabbos is, wow, nothing like Shabbos. Nothing like a good Gemara, a good midrash. These things are enjoyable. When we say V'ahariv na Hashem Elokeinu, Kulani Yishmech, we learn this lishma, we ask though. Halavai, we say it every day. Let us learn your Torah for your sake, for its sake, with a pure motivation. The more pure the motivation is, the more powerful it is, and the more Hashem's blessings are manifest in our life. We said at the very beginning of the shir, of this podcast, all the things that have happened to us in our lives, all the challenges we've gone through, of course they're supposed to help us grow and become greater people. But the problems that we face are there for us to recognize that, hey, we're not yet in complete relationship with Hashem. We're not staying long enough in the base midrash. We're not davening long enough. We're not having the kavanah that we know we should have, we want to have. We're not necessarily doing it for the right reasons, all the things that we do. And we want to improve. We want to show Hashem as we round up the year. We want to put on our best Shabbos clothes. We want to show Hashem that really, this is who we are. We're people who are striving to do things for His sake. It's not easy. And it's especially not simple for us Westerners who are so used to everything being about us. iPhones and iPads and me. But the midrash is telling us, the Torah is telling us, you want to know where the blessings come? And we know this in our guts from experience. Where do the blessings come? Western society doesn't want to have children. You and I know the greatest blessing is children. What greater blessing is there? But having a child means that I have to give of myself. I have to wake up in the middle of the night, 1:30 last night. My son woke up, my 1.5-year-old, and I put him back to sleep. Took a half an hour. And, what better thing is there in the world than that? What better thing is there in the world? The experience of doing for somebody else, the experience of doing for Hashem, the experience of not being about me. We're so weighted down by it being about us. I want to bless you and ask you to bless me. Hashem should help us, that we should be able to do things a little more lishma. Start with a little bit of lishma. For God's sake. Doing it a little bit, and a little more, and a little more until it grows and becomes our main motivation. Hashem should help us all to be able to have a year. The challenges and difficulties and the curses of the previous year, may they end. May the blessings begin in our coming year. May they begin now. Thank you so much for listening. A wonderful Shabbos. This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.